Let's talk about Chelsea, actually. Chelsea named their squad for their tour of the USA, where are all the midfielders, Rory? Because only Enzo and Gallagher are left, and West Ham have been linked with the latter.
I mean, when you say where are the midfielders, I can tell you. One of them is at Manchester City in Kovacic. One of them has gone over to Saudi in N'Golo Kante.
Yeah.
One of them is at Manchester United in the form of Mason Mount. One of them is currently at Arsenal in the form of Jorginho. In the last 6 months, we have got rid of, let go of, been left by, however you want to see it, half a dozen midfielders, and it's a mistake. It's a mistake. You cannot allow an entire midfield to leave. Like Chelsea's best midfield last year, I believe, or at the beginning of this transfer window even, I believe our best midfield would have been N'Golo Kante, Mateo Kovacic and Mason Mount, none of whom are at the club now. I also think it was a mistake to let Ruben Loftus-Cheek go. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has gone over to AC Milan. I think that was a mistake. It's not that I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a particularly brilliant player, but I think he's been an incredibly loyal player to Chelsea.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he's done so much for the club. I think he's been asked to play in various positions over a huge amount of time and has never let us down. And I think he's a player that Chelsea could have utilised this year. Chelsea are now going into a season where I think if a Premier League game started tomorrow, this would be Chelsea's midfield match, and I think this will trouble anyone. Chelsea's midfield, if we were starting the season tomorrow, would read Enzo Fernandez, Conor Gallagher, Carney Chukwuemeka. Now, whatever you think of the potential of that midfield, whatever you think of the players that Gallagher and Chukwuemeka and Fernandez will be maybe in half a decade's time.
We're talking about now. I'm
talking about now. That midfield is not ready for Premier League football. That midfield is not deep enough for Premier League football.
Quickly as well, a man that you know very well, of course, Mark Guéhi's been linked with a move back to Chelsea from Palace. What do you make of that? You've let some good players go in over the years. This is going
to sound so contradictory because I think it's an example and a microcosm of everything wrong with the way that Chelsea operate. The fact that we are now thinking about having to buy back Mark Guéhi when we obviously should have never let him go. In the same breath, we should have never let Tammy Abraham go. In the same breath, we should have never let Victor Mori go. And now we're potentially going to have to buy Mark Guéhi back. So I think it really does indicate quite how poorly Chelsea has been conducted over recent years. But the hypocrisy in all football fans, I think is ridiculous that we're in this situation. But I think we desperately need him back. I think he adds to our back line. The unfortunate injury to Wesley Fofana has created a situation where I think we need some more cover there. I think as much as I like Trevor Chalobah, I certainly don't want him to go anywhere, but I don't necessarily think he's ready to play enough. I think Levi Colwill has to come back, but I'm concerned that he will leave. Thiago Silva is the best defender at the club, but is pushing 40. And there's word on the street that Badiashile, as good as he is, Badiashile and Colwill can't play together. I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but there's this maybe misnomer in football that you don't play two left-sided centre-halves.
Yeah.
You can have two right-sided centre. You can have two right-footed centre-halves, but you can't have two left-footed.
Two lefties, no.
So if it's Colwill or Badiashile, and Thiago Silva can only play as and when, there's debate to be had about how good Chalobah is. I think that we could end up having to bring in another centre half, but this would be the least of all of my priorities.
What about Harry Maguire?
I mean, this is a disaster. This is just totally unfair, and you shouldn't really bring this up and do this to me because I know what you're doing. You're doing this on purpose. You're being snide and you're trying to upset me.
That's what we like to do.
I mean, this is truly disastrous. And do you know what I think becomes a bit indicative of who Chelsea are at the moment? You know, you've got Manchester City being linked with Guardiola, signing Guardiola, one of the most sought-after, brilliant defenders in world football. They're going to sign him, and he possibly doesn't even get in their team immediately. You know, is he that much better than Laporte now? If Laporte leaves, is he that much better? Is he going to immediately displace Ruben Diaz or John Stones or Akanji or Nathan Ake? I don't think so. That's who Man City are. Sure. And if you juxtapose that immediately, and now we talk about Chelsea being linked with Harry Maguire, that is just a microcosm of who Chelsea are at the moment. We are shambolic, we are all over the place. And the fact that we are even having a conversation on talkSPORT around Chelsea signing Harry Maguire is actually a disgrace to the ownership.
Harry Maguire.
Like,
Get used to it. Come on.
He's so...
Harry Maguire.
Now you're
Get used to the
singing at
song.
me. And now you're singing Harry Maguire's song at me, knowing full well
You'll be
that
singing
this is...
it at the bridge next season, mate. All right?
I've got a terrible feeling that we could be.
I think you might be.